Welcome to day 4 of 5 days of exciting coverage of the 2007 FIG Artistic Gymnastics World Championships live from Stuttgart, Germany. My name is Bart Connor, and I'm joined by world medalist Raj Bhavsar. Good to be working with you again, Raj.
Thank you, Bart. It's good to be here.
We'll be seeing 15 medals awarded today in the competition. There are the men's floor finalists who will be contending for gold, silver, and bronze. We'll also see competition for the men on the pommel horse and rings. For the women, we'll see competition in the vault and the uneven bars. Coming into today's competition, so far the World Championships have been spectacular. The Chinese team has won 3 medals in total, 2 gold and a silver. The American team has won 2 medals, both of them gold. From Japan, they have won 2 medals, a silver and a bronze. Romania has won a silver and a bronze as well. The host country, Germany, has won a silver and a bronze. The Brazilians won 1 bronze, and the Italians have won 1 bronze. So over the next 2 days, 30 medals will be handed out. This is the big haul.
This is basically the bulk of all the medals here.
And we'll have an opportunity to see the best 8 in the world on each of the apparatus. Guillermo Alvarez from the United States will be competing on the floor against an incredible field, including that gentleman right there, Gervasio de Fer of Spain, Diego Hippolito of Brazil. 5 American gymnasts will be into today's competition, and we'll be following the action closely on the floor, horse, rings, vault, and uneven bars.
We wish you good luck.
Bart, I always love these event finals competitions. You really see a variety of routines. It's not the same cookie cutter routines that some of the viewers might be used to. You're really going to see uniqueness come out in the gymnastics and get a more artistic value for what the sport is worth.
We'll focus on the men's floor exercise final first, and when that's completed, we will move over to the women's competition on the vault. So 15 medals at stake today in the World Gymnastics Championships. Don't go away, folks. It's going to be great. We are live from Stuttgart, Germany, the 2007 FIG Gymnastics World Championships. The individual event finals, day 1. We open up with the floor exercise. Zhou Kai, the 19-year-old youngest member of the Chinese gold medal team, qualified first into this final and has designs on a medal here for sure. Nice. Complex tumbling combination to open the routine. A little bit shorter rotation on that twist. Great looking double twisting double for the second pass, and he just drills it. If he does the routine that he has scheduled to perform, this routine would be judged from a 6.7 8-panel start value. A lot of difficulty.
That's one of the higher starts in this competition for this event.
Oh, short.
Landing a little short, under-rotated on those landings.
His bio says he's 19. He looks like he's about 12.
Yeah, he does. He looks young.
And yet his routine, he's the youngest guy in the competition attempting the most difficult routine in these finals. That is remarkable. It is really amazing, a deceptive amount of power. He doesn't even look like he'd be that strong or quick or explosive off the floor, does he?
No, he doesn't. And it's actually what China needed in the past. You know, they haven't really been known too much for their great gymnasts on floor, but it's nice to see, you know, an up-and-comer for the Chinese gymnasts on this event.
At a 16.275 in qualification, then a 15.7 in the team final, where China was coronated as the best team in the world. This is amazing. 2.5 twister to a front double full. Oh, he did go out of bounds.
Nonetheless, that's one of the more rare tumbling passes. not going to see. That's a DD combination there. It'll award him 2 tenths in connection bonus. Won't see too many of those on the floor.
This is called a Fedorchenko. If you go around 3 complete times, it qualifies for high level of difficulty, as does that tumbling at the end.
Pike full in. Half pike, though, half tuck. That's kind of interesting.
We have invited many of our listeners to sound off about the current state of gymnastics, and boy, did we get a flood of emails in the last couple of days.
It was fun, though. I enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun, and we'd like to encourage people to send us more notes. I have a challenge for everybody today as we wait for the score for Zhou Kai. We have been griping about the code of points for the last couple of days.
Right.
I challenge our viewers to send us a note about what's good about the current code of points. Are there some good things about the way the routines are being evaluated? So send us a note to WCSNfan@WCSN.com. I have a feeling we'll get a lot fewer emails on the good side.
The good side. It takes a little bit more thought, but I'm sure the good points are out there. And
I'll throw out one. I think one of the good points is we're seeing a more variety of skills than we saw under the old code.
Absolutely. One of the other points that I noticed is that you don't have to throw the hardest skills in this sport to be a competitor. Actually, a very clean gymnast with a mediocre difficulty can score well.
6.7 was his A panel start value. You see the scores from the other 6 judges for execution. 15.55 for Zhou Kai.
And that's one of his lower scores.
The
simply because of his finishing positions on most of those tumbling passes, kind of hopping around. Those 1 3/10 deductions really add up at the end of the routine.
It'll be very interesting today in the competition because we have some athletes competing here who have done qualification, all-around final, and team final. They're worn out, like Liang Fu Liang. Other athletes are fresh because somebody like Gervasio de Fer did not have that many events and that many sessions of competition. So some of the specialists will be particularly fresh today, and we'll see how some of the all-around and important team players hold up under this 4th of 5 days of competition.
And half of these competitors, this is just their 2nd competition.
Right.
All they competed in was the prelims and had a big break, and don't have a team that qualified into the top 8, so they weren't in a team competition, and no all-arounders, and just right into event finals.
Liang Fu Liang qualified 7th of 8. No more than 2 per country allowed into the finals. I think that's a good rule, actually.
I do.
It does provide opportunity for more countries to have a shot at medals. He finished 7th in the all-around here. This is his 4th World Championship competition. He had a 15.7 in qualifying.
Oh! Struggled on that 2.5 dismount.
There's an indication of somebody who's probably pretty worn out after several days of competition.
And your legs are really, on fire going into that last tumbling pass. And you could see him trying to fight and stay up on his feet. I know what that burning in your quads feels like. We take a look at an early tumbling pass. This is some of the transitional sequences that gymnasts are required to do between their tumbling passes. Similar to the pommel horse, those are flares.
Made popular by American Kurt Thomas, who was the first world champion for the American men back in 1978 on the floor exercise, Strasbourg, France.
Yeah, and here's a look at that dismount, and you could see he just didn't pull it around enough. His shoulders were not over his feet on the landing, and
0.8 of a point for a complete fall. That was
and although he didn't fall, but you saw like maybe one large step backwards and then again another step. So the judges actually add both of those steps together. It's almost as if you did fall. It's really going to hurt.
Probably about 0.6 of a point
at
or
least.
so, maybe a little bit more for the lack of rotation.
Right.
And say poor technique on that.
And score of 15.125.
Interesting, his B panel scores range from 8.1 to 9.0, the B panel being the execution. So not every judge agreed with the severity of that final tumbling pass. Makoto Okiguchi now from Japan. I really was impressed with his performance the other day. Qualified 8th. He's the youngest member of the Japanese team at 21. And as we mentioned, he's coached by 1984 Olympic all-around champion Koji Gushkin. Oh, sweet. Wow. He still looks pretty fresh today.
That skill we were talking about, the Liu Yun, right into a punch. 1 1/4, and this guy can tumble.
Oh!
Saves it. That was
such hard combination.
That was a whip 2.5 punch Rudy.
Round off triple full on the side. Isn't that something?
And that's what you see a lot more of. Guys are taking advantage of every single pass they have. Judges will notice those short landings, however.
Stayed in bounds on that full in double. The 21-year-old from Kanagawa. The Japanese team earned the silver medal here at these World Championships. The bronze medal in the all-around went to his teammate Mizutori, who will be the final competitor in men's floor exercise today. He scored 15.7 in qualification, which allowed him to qualify in 8th. This is just nuts.
That is cool. Oh, but did you...
I didn't realize he went out of bounds. We couldn't see it from the original camera angle.
When he punched there, he was actually still traveling backwards, momentum from that pass, and went for the punch 1 1/4, but still traveling backwards like that. There's not much you can do, and
it's kind of a gainer effect.
Exactly.
This fulfills one of those non-tumbling requirements. Many gymnasts use the same Fedorchenko-type skill to get the highest point value for that particular element group requirement. I'm sure we'll see him challenging for medals as well in the Olympics next year. Very impressive for this young man. It's interesting that the Japanese team in general is older than the rest of the competitors here. He's 21 and he's their youngest guy.
That's right. It's almost like they brought him on to balance out Zhu Kai of China. Same type of gymnast, same body style.
I think that's part of the philosophy of what's happening here. Bring a few young guys. Okay. You see his scores there. 6.7 is his start value difficulty.
So
value 14.925. Yes.
And they really hammered him on those landings. Again, 3/10 on every single pass. If you have 5 passes, can really add up at the end.
Big opportunity here for the United States. Guillermo Alvarez, the 24-year-old from Denver, now University of Minnesota.
And he's usually very consistent on this event. That was a nice Arabian double pike.
Qualified in 5th.
Oh, that was nice. Layout, punch double full, punch front full. Whip 2.5. And one thing to notice here is that he's drilling these landings, and that's really going to shave a lot off of his, or save him a lot on his deductions.
Very interesting, very clean, which is typically his style, but plenty of difficulty as well. We could be looking at a very good score here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now here's another example of a guy who's rather fresh, because he did not compete in yesterday's all-around competition. He did participate in the team final, where he scored a 15.6 on this event. If he were to match his score in qualification of 15.7, he could move into the lead. This is an exciting opportunity. One tumbling pass to go for Alvarez.
Double layout dismount.
Nice.
Relatively as good as you can land that.
There's Mike Burns, his coach.
Sticking it.
Head coach at the University of Minnesota. Very proud of that performance. He knows that with that level of execution and the combination of difficult skills,
absolutely,
you could be looking at a very good score.
You know, and he didn't, you can choose not to do things that are outrageously difficult, and that's the route he's gone. He has just enough difficulty, especially you see in those intricate tumbling passes, 3 skilled tumbling passes. He has about one of those in his routine, and other than that, some very clean 2 skilled tumbling passes. That was the pass I was referring to. Done very well.
Typically, if he gets credit for all of his difficulty, which you expect he will, 6.3 is his A-panel start value.
So like I was saying,
this is a beautiful
4/10 lower than the previous 2 competitors in terms of start value. However,
but look at the scores on the B panel.
Exactly, the execution scores.
From 9.2 to 9.6, so he was rewarded for his execution. And get that, folks, Guillermo Alvarez, by 5/100ths of a point, moves into the lead at the halfway point through this floor exercise final.
You can do no worse than 4th, huh?
Gervasio de Fer now from Spain. Boy, this guy can fly.
Yes, he can. Oh, my God. He just makes that look effortless.
Qualified 3rd.
Full twisting double layout, punch 1 3/4. You really have to have some legs.
2-time Olympic champion on this event.
Very nice. And notice, Bart, he's not your typical body style for a gymnast, huh?
Well, but it's interesting because we'll be talking about this, I think, throughout the competition. He is the body style of a guy who does well on floor and vault.
Floor and vault.
Heavy in the lower body, very explosive.
Right.
Interesting that the other guys in this final were rather lean, like Alvarez and Okiguchi. Oh, man.
That's pretty. That was a Tuck Thomas.
This is a very, very good exercise. He was only 4th last year, finished out of the medals at the Worlds.
Double layout.
Oh, my goodness.
Stuck dismount.
Gervasio de Fer, 10 years ago, we saw him at the World Championships in Lausanne, Switzerland, placed 7th in the floor final. To be 10 years at the top of your game on an event like floor, that's remarkable.
Deserves some notoriety there.
The fact that your body can hold up for 10 years under that kind of pounding, that was intense.
And he is excited. Take a look here again at this full twisting double layout, punch 1 3/4, and that is just done.
That's
very
just not
textbook. Right. Yeah, it's blows my mind, and he does it so well.
Now here's a guy who actually has the ability to almost muscle his landings.
Right.
If he's a little off on one of those bounding skills, he has enough power to make a correction.
And that's a gift on this event because a lot of gymnasts do not possess that ability. And look at that, 15.95 will clearly move him into first place.
6.5 A-panel score in terms of difficulty. Wow.
Here's another jam-packed routine.
Diego Hippolito, the 21-year-old, the silver medalist in last year's World Championships on this event. Oh.
Wow, 1.5 twisting double back. Or you could actually call that a double Arabian full out. Very nice. And again, viewers can notice that he's rolling out of some of these passes, which means he can avoid the landing deductions that some of these other gymnasts occur.
2005, he won the World Championships on the floor. Sort of finally came out of the shadow of his famous older sister, Danielle, who was the silver medalist on the floor in the 2001 World Championships. But he has a shot at overtaking DeFer here just because of the difficulty and so far the clean landings. He attempts a routine that's slightly more difficult than DeFer. Oh!
Double Arabian dismount.
And a very high controlled landing.
Controlled landing. And in floor, it's important to note that while some of the other events there's one landing, on floor there's maybe 3 or 4 different landings. So there's 3 or 4 chances to incur landing deductions. So when you land with just minor shuffles of the feet, and it can really save you in the end versus taking a bunch of 3/10 deductions. Some mutual respect, that's always nice to see.
I think DeFer knows that he might be bettered by that performance. That was packed with difficulty and great execution on the landings.
That pass there. 4 skills in a row. He's one of the only gymnasts to do that. So whip 2.5, punch front full, punch 1 3/4. There are not many gymnasts, if any other, doing a pass like that.
And then to risk an Arabian double front at the end.
As a dismount.
Tough landing.
Blind landing.
The 21-year-old from Rio de Janeiro. He's coached by Vyacheslav Azimov, who originally comes from Ukraine. He had a 16.05 in qualifying. If he could match that, he would move into the lead. 15.95 is the top score so far for DeFer.
I have a feeling that just might do it.
There you go, 6-7. Degree of difficulty, 16.15 for Hippolito. Moves into first place. American Alvarez in third, and there are 2 gymnasts yet to go. Here's a young man we have not seen on television so far at this World Championship from Kazakhstan, but now representing Israel, Alexander Shatilov, the 20-year-old. 4 years ago, he emigrated to Israel. Oh!
And that's that DD tumbling move. Not done quite as well as Zhu Kai from China.
The World Championships last year, he was a finalist, took 7th.
That was a whip into a tuck, Thomas.
Wow.
Oh, interesting. Right into a transitional element.
Nice to see a little originality.
And the judges, you know, they're thinking the same thing. Nice to see some originality.
Had a 15.825 in qualifying. Oh!
And another double Arabian dismount.
Little sloppy form and botched the landing a little bit. Coaches are happy. Mizutori will be the final performer.
See where that routine starts at. I'm pretty sure it does not possess the same amount of difficulty as Diego Hippolito of Brazil. The skill here is called a Fedorchenko or a 1080 Russian. Same move you might see on pommel horse.
Well, just about everybody does a Fedorchenko now to fulfill that non-tumbling requirement. Unusual technique on that back handspring to the Arabian, and wow.
Lock knee landing there. Those can
scare you.
Those can be scary. I think they're happy with the hit routine.
Yeah, that's right. When he hits his routine completely, 6.5 is his A-panel score. It all comes down to execution deductions, because at this level, most of the people have similar start values. 15.575 in fourth place. So Guillermo Alvarez from the United States currently still in third. Hippolito the leader, DeFer in second, one gymnast to go. Can there be a medal for the American men on the floor?
Quite possibly. It will come down to what these few remaining gymnasts, one remaining gymnast.
Mizutori, the 27-year-old, was third in the all-around, qualified sixth into the final here.
That was a running punch double full into a layout granny. One and a half full Rudy. Sticking those landings really helps.
15.625 would be enough to move him onto the podium and bounce Guillermo Alvarez out of the medal position. Clean so far.
Very clean, and he passes that rollout, avoiding those landing deductions. Smart structuring of the routine.
Qualifying score was a 15.7, and yet in the team final had only a 15.425. In the all-around, a 15.5. So he'll have to have a clean finish to this routine to finish in the medals.
Comes down to this dismount.
Oh, he's stuck at 2.5.
That will help. Although not a very impressive dismount, not very, flashy, but very clean, and I'm telling you, event finals on floor exercise, it's all about landings. As heavily as deductions are emphasized in this new code of points, simply can't afford at this level too many 3/10 deductions, and he really avoided those.
Good point. If you're looking at a score in the 15 to 16 point range, basically 10 points of that is attributed to the execution score, and 5 to 7 points of it are attributed to the difficulty score. So theoretically, about 2/3 of the score is weighed into the factoring of the final score on the execution side of the score. Which also means that it's very important that the B panel judges get it right.
Get it right, of course.
It makes the scores they deliver more important. 15.65. He moves into third. A 6.3 start value. Execution score is very high.
Very high. Look at that.
Hippolito will win. In 3 years, he's won 2 times the gold medal at the World Championships, and now last year's silver medal. So gold in 2005, silver last year in 2006, and for Brazil, another medal at these World Championships.
And that's a perfect example of this, the structuring of this new code, Bart. Diego won simply. He had one of the most difficult routines, and he hit it well. A guy like Mizutori squeaks into third simply because he can perform all his elements very cleanly.
Well, we will come back with the final results of the men's floor and get ready for the women on the vault. There is your world champion on the floor, Diego Hipólito of Brazil. Second time he's won the championship by 0.2 of a point. He won over Gervasio de Fer for Spain's first medal of these world championships. Mizutori earns the bronze by 5/100ths of a point. Guillermo Alvarez of the United States finishes in fourth. For the U.S. team, they have had a spectacular performance here, but now 3 fourth-place finishes. Fourth in the team, fourth in the all-around with Jonathan Horton, and now fourth on the floor. Good work for the U.S., but boy, they can just almost taste that medal.
Taste of that medal. It's right there.
We'll be back with Women on the Vault. There you see Alicia Sacramone of the United States, as all of the athletes who will compete in the women's vault final are being acknowledged to the crowd. The men's floor exercise final is wrapped up, and we start women's competition. I'm Bart Connor, and I'm proud to be joined, as always, by Tasha Schweikert.
Thank you, Bart. It's great to be back.
Going to have an incredible field here today, including Jara Barbosa, that young lady right there, the reigning world champion, Chong Fei. Oksana Chusovitina, the winner of 8 medals in World Championship competition. The inspiring story about her at 31 years of age, now competing for Germany. Amazing, impressive story, Oksana Chusovitina. There is the look of the top 8 coming into the finals, including Yelena Zamolodchikova, who is the former Olympic champion on this event. The athletes will do 2 vaults. They must be different vaults, and their scores will be average. That is different than what we saw in the team and all-around competition. So the best of the best coming up on vault, including American Alicia Sacramone. Can she win a medal for the U.S.? We'll find out when we come back. Bart Connor and Tasha Schweikert, we are back for the women's vault final. We are live from Stuttgart, Germany. Here's a young lady, Jade Barbosa, the 16-year-old from Rio de Janeiro, who for a very brief moment was in first place in the all-around competition, ended up with a bronze medal yesterday. And she can do incredible vaults, including a 2.5 twister from a Yurchenko style. Here it comes.
Oh! That's amazing. She landed a little stiff-legged.
Oh, yeah, that's
I'm wondering if it's bothering her a little bit, but she seems to be all right.
She was the 4th highest qualifier coming into the final with a 15.45. She's one of the few gymnasts in the world that attempts that 2.5 twister, which starts from a 6.5 degree of difficulty. Let's take a look at the technique.
Ooh. Looks like she needed a little bit more height off the horse to complete that rotation.
She also qualified for the beam finals. Really exciting to see a fresh new face from Brazil, and a complete all-around contender as well. We've seen some good specialists like Diane dos Santos and Danielle Hipólito win medals on the world stage, but she is a legitimate all-around competitor, and a little bit like Shawn Johnson from the United States. I don't even know if she realizes how good she is. She's doing very challenging level of difficulty, and it doesn't seem to be at all a stress for her. 2.5 twister. Very few people can do that.
I agree. She really does it like it's no big deal.
No big deal, right.
She's really improved so much over the last couple of years.
She's just 16. We'll see more from her. Pan American Games this year, she won the vault. But the competition at the Pan American Games certainly not as fierce as it is here at the World Championships. Oh, okay. Now that was a nice vault, but we're talking, this is perhaps a little chink in the armor there, because that doesn't have the level of difficulty
That's right.
in her second vault, and that's going to hurt her here.
Well, that usually is what happens at vault finals. A gymnast will come in, have a great first vault, and the second vault is something they don't necessarily train all the time because of having to put time into the other events with the new code of points.
Now, the vault specialists, most of them have 2 big vaults, but the balanced all-around gymnasts, it's really not uncommon for them to have one good vault, and then they make it to the finals, and they go, oh, no, what am I going to do now? What's my other decent vault?
Not at all happens all the time.
It sure
I've
does.
been through it.
Me too, my friend. Okay, here's the vault.
Pretty decent technique. Hips could be a little straighter in the air. Definitely went out of the lines. That's going to be a deduction there.
Und hier ist die Wertung. The score for Jade Barbosa.
You can see 5.6 is the degree of difficulty for that vault. 15.162, the score for Jade Barbosa. Regardless, she's having a good time. Well, what can you say about 31-year-old Oksana Chusovitina? She qualified in 5th. This is her second year competing for Germany. She received German citizenship last year. She's won 8 world medals on the vault. The oldest women's competitor, 4-time Olympian, originally from Uzbekistan. Just everything about her is remarkable. Oh, no.
Front handspring laid out, Rudy.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I've seen her complete that vault well so many times.
And she's usually such a rock. You're going back to the 91 World Championships in Indianapolis. We're talking 16 years ago, and she was the silver medalist there. She won the World Championships on the vault in 2003. What happened here?
She looks as though she comes on a little low on the horse.
Right.
Her hands are a little bit too in front. She needs to be a little bit more on the table, on top of the table.
We'll be able to see that
We'll
probably
see it right
better
here. Yeah, comes on way too high, doesn't get the block she needs to be able to get the height. It's a shame because she's great when she actually lands that vault.
She moved to Germany in 2002. She came there specifically because her young son Alisher had been diagnosed with leukemia and wasn't able to get quality treatment back in Uzbekistan, so she moved to Germany. Many German gymnastics family stepped forward to help her, and her son Alisher is doing fine. 14.425 for the first vault for Chusovitina. Her husband, by the way, a former Olympic wrestler from Uzbekistan. She has competed for the Soviet Union, the unified team, Uzbekistan, and now Germany in her remarkable career.
Right. Half on, 1.5 off. Great vault. Just huge hop in the landing. It's going to be a big deduction for a landing.
5.7, the degree of difficulty on that vault. Oh, she's disappointed. In front of her new home country, an unfortunate and really unexpected result. Normally, as you say, she is a rock.
This vault had great technique. Well, for everything she is, I admire her 100%. I mean, at 31, I honestly don't know how she's still doing this.
She's disappointed. 14.687 for Chusovitina. The winner of 8 world medals on the vault will not earn one today. It certainly doesn't diminish how the gymnastics world feels about her and the amount of respect at 31 years of age and the mother of a young son to be here competing with 15 and 16 years olds. That is really something. Hong Soo-jong of Korea now. She is the only gymnast here who made both the vault and bar finals today.
Wow. Beautiful Yurchenko 2.5.
Wow.
That was nice.
It was nice.
Her teammates are really excited for it.
She's 22 from Pyongyang. She qualified second into the final with a 15.55. Did not do particularly well in the all-around, in fact, took 23rd.
We'll take a look at this in the replay. It's a great entry. And really stays in the twist nice. Nice landing.
North Korean gymnasts are among the most mysterious. 6.5, of course, the degree of difficulty. 15.85, a big score there. Very big score for the first vault. North Korea, very mysterious. They don't show up at a lot of the major world competitions. They come to the Worlds, the Olympics, and the Asian Games, but they don't do interviews. They're not necessarily very open to the rest of the gymnastics community. They don't show up at many of the events, and some people feel that there is perhaps a fear that that old sort of communist mentality, that they're afraid that their athletes might defect to the West, is preventing them from being as open and available as the other athletes. Nice. Half on Rudy.
That was great.
Boy, we could be looking at a medal performance there, because she has two very high-level difficulty vaults.
With very nice landings, too. That's key, especially in vault finals, not to only do a really big vault, but to have a controlled landing. Take a look at this vault on the replay. Nice entry. A little crooked on the horse on the block, but manages to block up, as you see right here. Just really get the twist started.
That is incredible. And with two very highly rated vaults and two good landings, we could be looking at a medal performance. Two North Korean women gymnasts have won world medals. Kim Gwang-suk, 15.812. She will move into the lead. Big, big score. The other North Korean who won a medal at the World Championships, Kang Yoon-mi, tied Zamolochikova with a silver at the 2003 World Championships. Big moment for this young lady, Alicia Sacramone, the 19-year-old out of Winchester, Massachusetts, qualified third into the final. Had minor surgery after last year's World Championships. She was a bronze medalist in 2005, a silver medalist in 2006 on the vault at the Worlds.
Wow.
Oh, sweet.
Handspring laid out Rudy.
She looks focused.
That was sky high.
It was sky high. Mihai Brestjan giving her a little extra motivation. She looks to be all business. Now she'll have to have clean landings. You notice the vault value, 6.3, less than the 2.5 twisters. So because she has a little less difficulty, she's going to have to be particularly clean, which she was.
Yeah, she had a great body position in the air.
Slightly out of line, but it doesn't appear that she landed outside of the line, which would have been a substantial deduction.
What is the Wertung? The score for Alicia Sacramone, 15.75.
As you hear in the background, 15.75 for the first vault.
Very high execution scores. Now, typically, her second vault is the Yurchenko double twist. We'll see what she goes for today. Okay.
Very nice. She fought a little bit too hard, too soon to stick the landing. So she had to take a step or hop forward, but all in all, it was great body position.
She looks disappointed. She knows because her vaults don't have the degree of difficulty of some of the others, including Hong Soo-jong, that she had to be perfect on her landings, and that wasn't quite the case. Boy, she has great form and technique, though.
It's beautiful.
That vault scored from a 5.8 degree of difficulty, which is 0.7 of a point lower in start value than her strongest competitor. So when you come in with a lower start value, you have to rely on perfect execution. 15.412 for Sacramone will put her in second place right now. This is what we're talking about, the specialization in gymnastics. Basically, in the event finals, you're looking at masters of one or two particular events, not necessarily complete balanced all-arounders. And when you talk about masters of the events, this is what the finals is all about. Jana Komarskova, the Czech Republic, the 24-year-old, two-time Olympian.
Wow. Yurchenko half on, front pike half off with a stick. I have to tell you, Bart, every single World Cup I've seen her in, I think she has got to stick 9 out of 10 vaults she's done. Like, always sticks.
She qualified 8th into the final, 14.275, her score. Boy, she just drilled it like a dart going into a dartboard. She's coached by her father. Her mother was a 1972 Olympian for Czechoslovakia. She has been frequently, as you say, on the World Cup circuit this year already. In Cottbus, Lyon, and Glasgow. Excuse me, in 2006, she was a medalist in each of those. 5.2, only the degree of difficulty for that vault, 14.45. She has commented that she has been considering upgrading her difficulty, but she says, you know, when you're older, it's harder to learn new tricks, and you kind of just have to go with what you can do. She doesn't want to risk injury, and that's probably smart.
All right. Very nice, Yurchenko full.
Good-looking vault. In college competition, you can score a 10 on that, but here it only starts from a 5.0 start value, so she will, although she had very nice execution, she's not in the class of the top competitors in terms of difficulty.
Yeah, definitely if she was in a college meet, that would be a 10. She'd win the NCAA's vault champion.
She knows she did her best. Very popular young lady on the World Cup circuit, 24 years of age. It's good to see women extending their career in gymnastics. It's so nice that, and that's one of the benefits of specialization, as many of these young women are competing to mid-20s and even older. 14.412.
Great execution score.
Hong Shuzhong in the driver's seat with a 15.812 right now. Hong Eunjong, her teammate, the 18-year-old, trains in Pyongyang. She qualified 7th into the finals. She was a bronze medalist at last year's Asian Games.
Very nice Yurchenko double twist.
It starts at a 5.8 degree of difficulty.
Again, the landing, she had a big step, so that's going to basically be one of her main deductions in this vault.
Zuvor Jana Komarskova, also Yurchenko, Radwende aus Sprungbrett, Überschlag rückwärts und dann eine Doppelschraube.
In the vault finals of this caliber, a lot of the gymnasts are going to be performing the same skill. A lot of Yurchenko doubles, a lot of half-on, layout halves, layout one halves. So you'll have to find something special about each vault to separate the winner. And the landing here seems to be the case with nice body shape.
15.00, Hong Eunjong. We invited people to send us notes about what they don't like about the rules, and we got lots of emails. Well, we invited today people to send us notes about what they like about the rules, and we've gotten almost nothing. Silence speaks volumes. Now, in the event finals, her teammate, Hong Shuzhong, had two 6.5 vaults. So, oh, that was nice.
Wow.
A little sloppy in the air, but a much tougher degree of difficulty for that half-on Rudy. She seems happy she just made it. Must be a new vault for her. Hey, Coach, I made it.
That was a great vault. Yurchenko half on, 1.5 off. Had to pipe down a bit, but it honestly looked like it was one of those times you're in a vault finals, you need to chuck a harder vault.
And
you're
went
happy
for it.
you landed on your feet.
A little bit low, a little bit piked, but good for her that she went for it and made it. The same second vault that we saw from her teammate, who is currently in the lead, but you can see it was pretty low.
Right.
All right, there is one good thing to say about the current rules, and perhaps this is the benefit of the way the open scoring system is that in the event finals, I think the current rules have the capacity to better separate the athletes, because her teammate, for instance, had 2 vaults that are much more difficult to do, 0.7 of a point higher in terms of degree of difficulty, and she performed them successfully, and she will be adequately rewarded for going for the harder skills. So perhaps in some respects the code works in that it does separate the great performances from the really great performances because of the risk that the gymnasts take. 15.2 will move her into bronze medal spot with 2 athletes yet to go. Yana Zamolodchikova, Yelena Zamolodchikova, pardon me, 24-year-old from Moscow, qualified 6th. In the last 7 years, she's won 11 world and Olympic medals on vault. Here she goes.
Very nice, Yurchenko double twist. A little flat. Her block didn't exactly go up and get a lot of height and amplitude.
Usually she does get a little bit more pop off the vault table. Last year at the World, she was 6th. The year prior, she was 4th. But we saw her in tears the other day during the team competition when her teammate Kramarenko scored a 0. And she managed, with tears running down her face, to do this vault in the team competition. And, of course, it was devastating for the Russians, who had a guaranteed bronze medal. They dropped to 8th place in the team final and virtually handed the bronze to the Romanian team. 15.0 for that vault. So Korean Hong Soo-jong in solid position in first after Zamolodchikova does her second vault. Only 1 vaulter to go. Chung Fei, the current world champion.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
It looked like she tried to attempt Yurchenko half on front layout half, and it didn't exactly turn out how she wanted.
Now, in the vault finals, the gymnasts have to do 2 different vaults. They can be from the same family, but the judges require that the post flight, after you push off the vaulting table, be something different. If you do a flipping vault in the first one, then you need to do a twisting vault in the second one. If you do a forward flipping vault in the first one, you need to do a backward flipping vault in the second one. So they can be from the same family. In this case, she elected to do a half on that time, a Yurchenko half on, but clearly she's not experienced with this technique.
You see there, she's actually a little crooked on the board, which catapults her to the side of the horse. Doesn't get a good block. That's tough, because when you're in the middle of the vault and it's all happening so fast, there's really nothing you can do to fix it.
Perfect example of a 24-year-old trying to learn a new vault. As Yana Komarskova says, it's dangerous to try to learn a new skill when for so many years she could get by on 2 vaults within her comfort range. So just 1 vaulter to go. That will be Chung Fei, the 19-year-old from Beijing. 2-time defending world champion. 13.875 for Zamolodchikova. 7th place. Talk about degree of difficulty. Chung Fei goes for the 2.5 twist Yurchenko, which is a 6.5 A jury score. The first Chinese woman to win a world title on vault. Boy, that was high.
That was amazing. Perfect body position in the air.
Now, we saw her fall on that in the team final.
That's right.
A big disappointment for China, but she seemed so much more aggressive there than she did in the team final.
Oh yeah, she definitely attacked it. She made sure she came onto the horse, great entry. Now the difference from yesterday, or in the team final, what I saw is when she came off the horse, she really tightened her whole body and core and got into a nice tight twist. I feel like she took longer to do that when she did this vault in the team final and fell. Wow. 16.0.
Outstanding for Chung Fei, and look at the execution scores from 9.3 to 9.6. So as we have seen with the other athletes, the key here now is the difficulty value and execution, of course, of the second vault. Most everybody here had one solid vault. Chung Fei, if she does what she normally has planned, will do a vault that's actually named after her, the half-on Rudy off. Oh! Looked like she barely got into the twist. A little sluggish in the air.
A little sluggish. Her hips also, too, a little more piked than we're normally used to seeing from her. If she hadn't have piked down, she would have been able to get a better landing.
Also, as you note there, a 6.5 degree of difficulty vault. So two gymnasts in this competition, the two challenging for the gold, both had two 6.5 A-panel scores. Hong Shuzhong, the current leader, with a 15.812. Normally, this vault is a little more crisp for Chung Fei. Didn't quite get square onto the vaulting table, did she? 15.937.
Pulled it out.
That's good enough. 9.1 to 9.4, her execution scores. She will be a three-time world champion on the vault. Chung Fei wins another gold for China. We'll come back with the final standings in vault in a moment. Don't go away. Back at the World Gymnastics Championships, the final results for the women's vault. Chung Fei wins the gold. Hong Shuzhong from Korea the silver, and American Alicia Sacramone will come up with a bronze. Good for her. She has now, in the last three World Championships, 2 bronzes and 1 silver. Chung Fei was certainly well rewarded for doing 2 very highly difficult vaults and with good execution.
Here's the replay of her second vault. It's named after her. So hard. Such a hard vault.
Her technique is a little strange. She doesn't get quite square onto the table, and that wasn't her best twist off.
I agree, Bart. Normally, she comes on very square. You see there, she's a little torque to the side and starts to twist. It's almost like all parts of the vault start to melt together. Not her best one, but good enough for gold today.
As has been pointed out, the new scoring system does benefit the athletes who can do the difficult skills and do them cleanly. And in this case, the gold medal appropriately goes to Chung Fei, the silver to Hong Shuzhong, and the bronze to Alicia Sacramone, who had lower degree of difficulty. Good execution, not perfect execution, but even if she nailed those difficult vaults that she does, the difficulty rating was not high enough to merit a gold medal performance. So in this case, I believe the current code of points has served the athletes well by separating the good ones from the champions. All right, the men's floor exercise awards will be presented. That was a great floor final.
Stuttgart. Bodenfinale Männer.
the 4th EMBW World Artistic Gymnastics Championships 2007 Stuttgart. Floor Final Men.
Dritter Platz und Gewinner der Bronzemedaille.
Third place.
We've had several emails come in from people who have tuned into us on WCSN. Eric Wallace tells us he's in favor of the new code. It capitalizes on the execution of skills and awards difficulty. The new code encourages gymnasts to complete difficult skills and at the same time forces them to be aware of the execution of the skills. Good point.
Second place.
Although he does mention that it is difficult for the non-gymnastics expert to understand the code of points. And I think that is perhaps one of the biggest downfalls, is that one of the biggest brands in the sport of gymnastics was the perfect 10. And for a non-initiated fan, they don't necessarily know exactly what they're seeing technically, but they know that how close did they get to a perfect 10. There's a relative number that the average fan can pick up on. So the concern is that what is a 15.1 and what is a 16.15 and what do they all mean? As a gymnastics expert, we understand what they mean, but for a non-gymnastics expert, and typically someone who tunes in every 4 years to watch the Olympics, they're like, huh? What does that mean? At least in collegiate gymnastics, where they have retained the perfect 10 in women's college gymnastics, you have a whole arena full of people sitting on the edge of their seat thinking, how close can she get to a 10? And that adds an additional level of enthusiasm for the sport. Your feelings about this, Tasha?
I think that's a great point, Bart. I think that engaging your audience, as much audience as possible, is the main goal in this, in our sport. And basically, people could identify with the 10 very easy, regardless if you knew what was going on. The 10, the stick, and the fall, right? That's what it was. And now with the 16s and the 17s, I mean, even gymnastics fans, sometimes it's like, well, what does that mean? And so being so foreign to what's going on, it just makes people not really want to get into it, because if you don't know what's going on, it's really hard to get engaged.
You might lose the casual observer who says, well, I don't understand this, so I'm just not even going to watch. Please send us your comments to WCSNfan@WCSN.com. Here's an analogy. If your team is behind by 2 points in basketball and your player hits a three-pointer, everybody in the room immediately knows that you just went ahead. It's an instantaneous contact with the fans and the supporters. In gymnastics, you can see a great routine, and then it takes you a little while to analyze, well, how great was it, and was that good for the team? Was it good enough? In that way, you might lose some casual observers to gymnastics, because connecting the score with the relative importance of the score is difficult to do. All right, let's allow Diego Hippolito to enjoy his moment as a repeat world champion.
Die offizielle Siegerehrung findet statt im Anschluss an die Wettkämpfe auf der Medal Plaza in der Stuttgarter Innenstadt.
We have another email from Emma, and I think this is a very interesting point. The system now rewards people for doing more difficult routines. That is true. So I asked our viewers to send us a note about what they think is a positive side. And here's a perfect example. In the 1997 World Championships, I was there in Lausanne, Switzerland, Cui Huan did the most amazing, difficult balance beam routine. And yet Gina Gojan from Romania won with a much simpler routine. And if Cui Huan was competing here, that she would have had a much higher A score, difficulty value, and therefore probably would have won, because she also had clean execution. So if there is one good thing about this code of points, it has the capacity to separate the great routines from the superb routines. And that was evidence here in the vault final, where the two champions, gold and silver, went to the athletes who risked the highest degree of difficulty. You compete in collegiate gymnastics, where everybody is somewhere between about a 9-7 and a 10. And sometimes it's difficult to separate the good ones from the great ones when you have a ceiling of a score with a perfect 10.
That's very, very true. Nationals especially. I mean, you've got 20 ties with a 9.95. And legitimately, not all of them are 9.95, but when you've got that many Yurchenko fulls to start scoring, it gets a bit difficult to start distinguishing which ones are great and which ones are good.
Now, the motivation in collegiate gymnastics is very different. It's to create parity. It's to create a contest. And I have to say, I enjoy seeing collegiate gymnastics because whether it's Georgia, Alabama, or UCLA, Utah, you have a contest going down to the last athlete who hits the last landing. And for the fans, it's a thrill because they're into the game. And whether you're the best team on paper or not, every meet is a good game. It's a good contest where you come to the World Gymnastics Championships and based on what they bring to the table, you may not even have a good contest because if you have the highest degree of difficulty and you hit it cleanly, you can't be touched.
Most definitely. The 10 in college, I think, is a great thing that they've kept. We get so many fans. We get the whole athletic department to come, the football players, they dress up, basketball players, John
they dress
Wooden.
up?
Yeah, they really do. They wear the ref forms, and everyone in the crowd has the 10s to hold up, and they make 10-0 signs, and so it's all based on the 10, which is very fun. But I really think it's important in gymnastics now to separate the good routines from the great routines. I just really wish it was set up a different way.
Well,
how? Okay,
you got to follow up with that, dear.
I was thinking more like keep it how it used to be as far as the scoring system and showing, okay, so we have the routine and we've given her a 9.85. And then on like a separate score, well, she has an extra bonus of 5 points because of her difficulty. So the average viewer can see, okay, 9.85 plus extra 5/10 because of her difficulty.
Oh, you're going to add a whole other system and completely confuse everybody.
I challenge the viewers to maybe come up with a system that, you know, they believe might work best in this quadrennium.
Cheng Fei, 3-time world champion on the vault. There's no question about that result. Hong Shuzhong, the silver, and Alicia Sacramone from the United States earns another bronze medal. Very exciting first two events. We have 3 more events coming up. The men will take to the pommel horse when we come back to Stuttgart. Getting set now for the finals of the men's pommel horse. Here are the list of 8 competitors who qualified into this competition. Xiao Qin from China is a heavy favorite based on his qualifying and complete execution. For our American viewers, Sasha Artemev, who was the bronze medalist in last year's World Championships and the highlight for the American men last year after a 13th place finish in the team competition and not good results in the all-around. The American men were thrilled to come away from Aarhus, Denmark with the bronze medal that Alexander Artemov delivered. So we take a look at the 8 athletes who will step forward and compete for gold, silver, and bronze here. I'm Bart Connor, along with world medalist Raj Bavzar. What do you think about the pommel horse final?
You know, this is a really good squad of guys. Obviously, it's going to come down to the gymnast that makes the least amount of deductions. We're going to see a lot of the same types of combinations. I'll point out anything that's very unique and rare. A lot of these guys, what separates them from the rest of the world is that they are doing long routines that are very, very difficult. I know in the United States, one emphasis we place heavily to better ourselves is pommel horse. And this squad of guys would be a great group of guys to learn something from. I'm excited.
All right, so when we come back, the best in the world will compete on the pommel horse. Don't go away. Getting set now for the finals on the pommel horse. Bob Czar and Bart Connor calling the action live in Stuttgart. First up will be Daniel Keatings, the youngest gymnast to qualify in any of the men's finals. He's just 17 from Corby, England. European Championships this year, he was second on the pommel horse, and he qualified coming into this competition with a 15.675.
And that's a scissor mount. Some of these gymnasts will opt to do their scissor sequence near the beginning of their routine. He has a nice looking swing. And that's a very rare element there. That's a 1080 Russian.
In between the pommels.
Which gives it a...
oh, no!
I hate to see that.
Oh!
But that's the kind of thing that can happen on this event. You get a little bit off and you try and fight, and at some point there's just nothing you can do anymore. You're completely off.
This travel is called a Wu, invented by the Chinese gymnast. Unfortunate, because that 1080 in between the pommels was just brilliant.
That was very nice. He's going to repeat the element. He's actually got a very nice swing. Interesting disc knot.
Well, I hope we see him again sometime in the finals, because that was really a young man of just 17 years of age.
Oh, he'll be back.
He'll be back. He's good. Unlucky for Daniel Keatings.
Just a hand slip, and the judges will take that 8/10 deduction, as well as you see those leg separations. All those count towards deductions. So.
Now, you mentioned that he also went up and repeated the skill. You're allowed to repeat the skill, because basically if you don't complete the skill, you don't actually get the credit for it.
Exactly. He fell on that element, so he lost the credit. That would not go towards his difficulty, so he opted to get up there and do it again, which I commend him for, and he will receive credit.
Well, not what he expected for sure in this final.
Mit gerade mal 17 Jahren hat Daniel Keatings die Zukunft noch vor sich.
Here's his score. 6.5 is the degree of difficulty, and you can see the reflection, the scores in the low 8s for the execution score.
Nächster Turner aus Weißrussland, Alexei Ignatowicz.
It's interesting, you'll see some of these gymnasts not only chalk up their hands, but the backs of their arms and their underarms a little bit, because get swinging and become a little moist, so they want to keep the areas dry so they're not too all over the place on the horse.
Ignatowicz, the 21-year-old from Minsk, very high elevation over the pommels.
He has a very straight looking swing. His body is in one position, which is very nice.
Qualified 5th. He's the only Belarusian gymnast in the final here, and they had a highlight in the fact that they were 12th in the team competition, and means they qualify a full team to the Olympics next year in China.
Oh! Another one.
Here's a good point. He's up there a long time.
Right.
And you mentioned that right away, that this is sort of survival of the fittest, who can stay up there a long time, rack up a lot of points. It comes down in many cases not only to your technical expertise, but just flat-out endurance.
Endurance plays a key role, especially on pommel horse, where there are no connection bonus points awarded. So essentially you're doing as many skills as you can jam into the routine.
Now, I haven't counted up the number of circles, but in my era, a routine might be somewhere between 22 and 25, 28 circles around the pommel horse. In order to be competitive these days, you have to do somewhere between about 35 and 42 or 3 circles, which is, you know, we're talking 50, 60% longer. And, you know, just to jump up and do 40 circles in one set is fatiguing, let alone with all the skills and combinations.
Absolutely, and something that a lot of these gymnasts do in their training is just jump up there and max out circles, see how many circles they can do in a row.
How many is the most you've ever done in one set?
Myself, I've done 63. Oh, in training.
Did that involve vomiting at the end as well? That's intense, 63.
You're gassed. You are gassed. And then it's that much harder. You know, you're not just doing circles. Like you said, you're doing these intricate combinations.
Ignatovich was 4th in the world's 2005 on pommel horse. This is interesting. We talked about some of the guys who the all-around and team competitors who might be a little bit worn out. No excuse for the first 2 performers. They are essentially specialists in this competition. Keatings and Ignatovich not competing in the all-around or team finals. So, but there will be a gymnast coming up who has battered himself all week long, and that'll be Tomita of Japan.
And sometimes, you know, that can work out to your advantage, that been out on the competition floor
good point.
More number of times than some of these other gymnasts. So while you want to be fresh and have that break, it can also work against you. Someone like Tomita, who's already experienced on this podium, can work through a set and be a little bit more familiar with the environment, has a better chance of hitting.
I remember the first time I competed up on a podium. This is essentially about 4 feet off the floor. You're raised up above the judges. The sight lines are different. The lighting is different.
Right.
The podium itself is a little springy because it's a riser, essentially. Right. All the dynamics of the equipment is different on the podium than it is back there in the training gym, where it's bolted to the concrete floor and the lighting is usually dimmer.
That's right.
And there's not a group of fans watching you. So the atmosphere in the training hall as opposed to the competition hall is incredibly different.
It's a drastic difference, and almost to the point where when you step out on the podium, you get a little bit of shock value if you're not used to it. So as many times as you can get on that podium, we gymnasts love to get as much experience on that podium as possible.
Here's a good example. I noticed when on your vault run, because the podium is springy, my steps were a little bit longer when I was running for a vault. So I had to use a different distance of run for my vault on the podium as I did in the training hall moments before in the warm-up, just because I knew that the spring of the riser was going to extend the length of my step a little bit, that my steps might beat off, as we saw with Kramarenko from Russia when she got a 0 on the vault. The dynamics of the equipment completely different up on that springy podium.
Absolutely, and that just goes to show how technically finite the sport of gymnastics is, and something that as simple as where your steps are can determine the entire routine.
And in the case of the Russians, it determined, for instance, the fact that they had a guaranteed bronze medal that they handed over to Romania. Hey, there's Yuri Korolev. One of the judges on the pommel horse, one of the few gymnasts in the world to win 2 world all-around titles. Ignatovich, 14.7. 6.2 was his degree of difficulty in that. Well, here's a guy who's been out here all week long, Tomita.
Right.
We saw him beaten down, struggling through the all-around competition yesterday.
And he's relatively clean on this event. Like we were saying earlier, Bart, one of those complete gymnasts, very balanced. It's nice to see some all-arounders make event finals. Very nice execution on that flop sequence. I love his toe point. It just really stands out. You see a little bit of skewing there on those travels. The judges are looking for the shoulders to be square to the horse as you travel up and down.
finished 12th in the all-around. Had 3 falls in that competition.
This is a very good
Nice,
set.
yes.
Good for him.
Once again, there is that sense of calm and rhythm. He's not rushed.
Absolutely.
He is a cool character. Last year's World Championships, he placed 7th, and qualifying into this event, qualified in 8th, 15.375.
Struggled a little bit in the all-around competition, but looks like he's well prepared for event finals.
Look at that. Just hanging out.
Yep.
It's the World Championships. I'll be up next. We'll also see him in the ring finals later today, and then he'll be on the high bar finals tomorrow. Got a nice comment here from Dominique Molciano Canales. Gymnastics fans, of course, know her as member of the 1996 Olympic Championship team. Dominique sends in a note that says, perhaps the silver lining with this code of points is that the gymnasts with the greatest variety of skills and the most endurance are rewarded in the event finals. That is true. I agree, Dominique, wholeheartedly. This code of points works in the event finals. I don't know if it works anywhere else, but in the event finals, I do believe it does separate the great routines from the even greater routines.
Very true, and
we're about to see one.
I love watching this guy swing.
Let's just sit back and watch the top qualifier, pommel horse phenomenon.
If you ever wanted to take notes, folks, now's the time.
Defending world champion.
Look at his swing.
He's almost arched in the front.
It's amazing. I've tried to swing like this. I just don't know how he does it. Swings like a feather.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Into these flare sequence, which is actually quite tricky over one pommel. Does it effortlessly.
Aggressive. Look at him slicing through.
It doesn't look like he's tiring at all.
Good point. Now this is where endurance matters.
Right.
Look at down the horse.
And watch his disc
back
just
up.
Flies right up.
Oh, man.
That's it.
That's it. Just hand him the goal.
Yeah,
Everybody else can go back to the warm-up, Jim. Wow. Xiao Qin demonstrates his mastery of the event.
Absolutely.
I'd like to go back to Dominique Molciano. It's great that she and her husband, Mike Canales, one of your teammates at Ohio State University, sent in their note. Thank you for commenting about the current code of points. And Dominique at home, pregnant. And excited to welcome her baby into the world soon. This is just, what can you say?
It's phenomenal.
When you see complete mastery of an event, there's just no denying it.
None at all. Everything in that routine was performed near technically perfect.
The only gymnast to score more than 16 points in the qualifying, he had a 16.275. In the team final, has 16.226. And expect a score in that range here as well. We talked about the body styles of some of these gymnasts. It's funny, when the pommel horse guys walk in, you almost know who they are by the way they look. 6 degree of difficulty, 16.3, his personal highest score since he's been here this week, and by almost a point into the lead. That will be tough to beat. Mind-boggling. Tomita moves to second.
3/10 off in that entire routine. That's something you don't see on near any of the events, to have so little off in execution.
Christian Berkey, 22-year-old from Budapest, qualified second. He had a 15.925.
He's one of the gymnasts that can come close to a 16. This quadrennium really stepped up on the pommel horse. See why? Look at the extension on those scissors. Look how high he's getting.
Oh!
That's nice. That's how that skill is supposed to be performed.
European champion on this event.
Notice the different style of swing. Just because he's not extended Xiaoqian from China, the judges won't deduct for that. They know there are different types of circles. Oh! And that hesitation going up into the dismount will actually reflect in his B panel score.
You know what's amazing about that routine is really awesome gymnastics. And yet when you go after Xiaoqian, even as extended as Berkey is, you go, oh, he's a little piked. You know, it's really unlucky to go after Xiaoqian.
You're at a disadvantage.
He missed last year's World Championships because of a hand injury. And you saw him do a move called a Magyar on the end. That was, of course, invented by Zoltán Magyar, the great pommel horse specialist from many years ago.
These scissors are very pretty. Look, has an amplitude above the pommel and swings into that scissor to handstand rather than muscling it. Some guys like to muscle it. And right here, just going into the dismount, just didn't pick his hips up early enough, and rather than swinging into the dismount, had to use a little bit of strength. Judges could take a 3 or a 5/10 deduction on that. He still may have a shot.
We invited our viewers to send us some notes about what they're seeing here. I'd like to thank Jeff Robinson from USA Gymnastics. He sent us a book. So thank you, Jeff, for your comments. Brilliant comments. We can't read them all on the air. We'd not be able to see any gymnastics. But we appreciate you a great deal, Jeff, and thanks for your expertise on our sport. In second place, Berkey.
15.7 will still be a good score compared to the rest of the field. U.S. gymnast Sasha Artemiev.
This is a big moment for the reigning bronze medalist at last year's World Championships.
And this is a very artistic routine.
This is the kind of routine on pommel horse that can get the crowd on its feet.
That's right.
The second half of his exercise is awesome.
He actually performs the flare sequence coming up. Maybe just a hair better than Xiaoqian. Extension in his legs.
How often do you see a pommel horse routine get people this excited? Look at this. Up the handstand again. Oh!
That's nice.
Really nice.
And it's good to see him hit. He's sometimes known to be a little bit inconsistent on this event.
Because he goes for a really challenging routine.
Absolutely.
Born in Minsk, Belarus. His father, Vladimir Artemiev, former member of the Soviet national team, his coach. He became a U.S. citizen in 2002. Kevin Majajka, the head coach here, says, that's all right, that'll work.
That'll work.
The bronze medal that he won last year in 2006 was the first American to win a world medal on pommel horse since back in 1979 when the great Kurt Thomas did it. What can you say about this sequence?
Look at how high his hips are above the pommels. You notice there that dismount, it doesn't quite finish in a exploding handstand position. It's kind of falling off the horse a little bit as it's finishing. Judges will take note of that.
Had a 15.375 in qualifying and a 14.775 in the team final, where the American men finished in 4th place. So far, the American men have 3 4th-place finishes here. Will they be able to taste a medal with this performance?
Kevin likes it.
Kevin, a terrific coach. Your coach down there in Houston.
Absolutely,
now, Raj.
great guy.
Done a lot for the American program. Mark Williams is his assistant coach here. Mark Williams, the head coach at Oklahoma University. And the coach of John Fortin. 15-175, a 5-7 degree of difficulty. High execution scores. But Artemev will land in fourth place for the time being. Seems to be the theme for the American men at these championships.
Yes, it does.
They're looking really good and just shy of medal contention. But the performances of the American men, very positive, encouraging, and a big upgrade since last year's World Championships. Yang Wei, world all-around champion, 2 times in a row.
Swinging very well. Looks as if he's come very well prepared into these World Championships. Knew about the work that he's going to have ahead of him. And another good hit routine, Yang Wei.
He is a machine.
He is. Can't deny him.
Even at the end, when it appeared he was running out of gas a little bit, he stayed with the technique and didn't deliver a major
That's right.
error. Incredible. That's all about fitness and endurance.
Fitness, absolutely. Your physical training at that point, when your mind is kind of saying, oh no, can I get it near the end of a set? Kind of just shut your brain off and rely on all the hours you've spent in the gym.
And at that point in the routine, your arms feel like lead weights.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing how heavy your arms get. Because notice, it basically at most points in the routine, you're supporting yourself on one or the other arm.
Right.
And switching back and forth. So the amount of lactic acid that builds up in your arms towards the end of that routine is unbelievable.
Especially towards the end of a routine when on pommel horse, gymnasts tend to get very gassed, run out of juice. Judges really take note of whether or not a gymnast can finish the routine with a bang and explode into the dismount rather than looking tired.
The 27-year-old Yang Wei qualified 6th. He's in 3rd right now with a 15.475. Winner of 12 world and Olympic medals in his incredible career. Lewis Smith, the final performer. The 18-year-old from Peterborough, Great Britain, qualified 3rd.
It's good to see 2 gymnasts from Great Britain.
Isn't that something? Oh!
Double Russian, but he's supposed to put his hand on the other pommel, but recovered nicely out of that.
4th place at the European Championships this year.
It's full spindle on the end. Sorry, half spindle. That's a Magyar travel into a Shavato. Popular combination. Little slow pirouetting on that dismount, but gets it around.
I love this about Lewis Smith. He says he admires Vitaly Sherbo and Muhammad Ali. And there is an analogy there, because if our sport ever had a Muhammad Ali type character, it's Vitaly Sherbo.
Mr. Sherbo himself.
Brash, winner of 6 gold medals in 92 Olympics, and now a gymnastics coach in Las Vegas. Lewis Smith, just 18. Boy, their pommel horse team is impressive.
That's something to note, Bart. You think we'll ever see a gymnast win 6 Olympic gold medals in one sitting?
Never, because now in the era of specialization, a pommel horse guy is not going to have a chance on the rings. It just, well, it's unlikely.
I agree. And the way teams are selected these days as well.
I always think it's interesting to note the body styles. You got an endorsement deal there?
Maybe.
Pommel horse guys, the best ones, are built like Xiao Qin. always thought pommel horse guys are a little like punters on a football team. You know, when the whole team walks in, you know which guy's the punter.
Right.
You know, he's the guy who's wearing less pads. He's a little leaner, about 100 pounds lighter. And he's a little different, that guy. He's over there in the corner doing his own thing. Well, that's the pommel horse guy. Lewis Smith. What?
Wow. Surprising third place finish.
I don't think I got that right.
I really wasn't expecting that.
His hand missed the pommel? Well, how about that?
That's call that a mind reaper.
Yeah, let's go back and look at that. Xiao Qin, unquestionably the winner. Berkey from Hungary second. Lewis Smith by .125 over Yang Wei. I don't get that.
I know the judges had to catch that error. It was.
You know that?
Well, if I was sitting there,
We'll come back with the continuation of the World Championships in a minute. Here are the top 8 who will contest for gold, silver, and bronze in the uneven bars as they are being introduced to the crowd. One of the favorites right there in the middle, the tiny one, Semyonova, as Nastia Liukin takes her salute. Elizabeth Tweddle of Great Britain, the reigning champion, qualified first.
Aus Deutschland, die Lokalmatadorin Marie-Sophie Hindermann. Und der Wettkampf beginnt jetzt. The competition starts now.
We're back live. World Gymnastics Championship from Stuttgart, Germany. Vanessa Ferrari, the former world all-around champion and a winner yesterday of tie for bronze medal in the all-around. Now to the bars. Bart Connor and Tasha Schweiker calling the action once again. Oh, the same thing that we saw yesterday.
Right before she went up, I was going to say for sure she's going to get this because she missed it yesterday.
And she missed it in the same fashion. Move called Komenich. Just doesn't look like she drives her heels enough to set the rotation. Normally very aggressive on the bars. Qualified 6th.
Some nice inverted giants. Great Ono to handstand.
Last year's World, she was bronze medalist on this event.
Little short there. I even saw a slight knee bend down as she went to land the dismount.
She has had a disastrous week on the bars. You might remember from the competition earlier, in the team final, her handguard was falling off. And then in the all-around final, she fell on the Komenich salto as she did just there. This has not been exactly the magical week that she had a year ago in Aarhus when she was on top of the world. You can see the little gauze homemade handguard that she wears. I would suggest she get a full-on pair of leather grips and do it right. What do you think?
It definitely makes the Komenich easier to hold on to, that's for sure. It's having a dowel when you grasp the bar really just locks it in a little bit more than the palm of your hand.
You know, she's not that balanced on the uneven bars, so she does the Komenich because that's the big release move that she can do. But in reality, her technique is quite poor on that move. It's hard to believe they don't have another skill that they could replace in there of a similar value to allow her to score well. Either fix the technique or do a different skill, because it's clear that that skill is beyond her capacity at this point. Next up will be Steliana Nistor of Romania. Nastia Liukin, the former world champion, is in this group, as is the reigning world champion, Tweddle. And a bright new star from Russia, Ksenia Semyonova, who has a highly challenging routine, will be in this final as well. So, a good group. How appropriate that it's taking a long time to calculate this score. We have been scratching our heads all week long at the scores on bars. I do not understand the B panel jury. The execution scores are very severe here, in particular on the Chinese. I don't understand. This event has been hard to figure out all week long.
It was a very nice Ono, and you see she hit decently within 10 degrees of handstand, so I would definitely count that, but I'm sure there's a lot of discrepancy in the handstands and where the pirouettes are hitting.
We've invited our viewers to send us notes about that. 14.767, the degree of difficulty, and a big range from 7.5 to 8.4 in execution scores. So obviously that was the conversation for the judges, which took so long to resolve. So Steliana Nistor for Romania, who won the silver medal, controversially I should say, in the all-around yesterday. Ready to go now.
Very nice combination, Tontoa full Ginger.
Very high release.
Beautiful. Just the legs in the pack. Shapash, ooh, fingertips it there.
Wow.
Nice Jaeger.
This is better today.
A lot better.
Better form. Seems to be her fourth release move. Incredible. See what happens here on the dismount. Typically the form is a little suspect, and it was again. The rest of the exercise quite good, and that kind of strange transition though.
I think she definitely cleaned it up from yesterday's competition. The biggest deduction I see is the dismount, the legs, and also the big hop.
Nistor will turn 18 on September 15th, later this month. She's from Sibiu, Romania. Also qualified for the balance beam finals, so we'll see her again tomorrow. She also wears those cloth-type hand grips.
Unterschiedliche Richtungen bewegt. Der untere Holm in einer Höhe von 1,65 Meter, der obere 2,40 Meter. Manche sprechen beim Stufenbarenturnen auch vom Doppelreck, denn viele Übungsteile.
Romanians were very strong on the uneven bars back in the 70s and 80s when people like Nadia Comaneci was there.
Beispielsweise haben wir eben zwei Flugteile gesehen, die
the last Romanian world champion on the bars, Lavinia Milosevic, in 1992 in Paris. Since then, only two medals. Andrea Kakovian won a bronze in '93, and Juana Petrovski a silver in 2002. So the Romanians have had most of their success on what would be considered the leg events. On vault, beam, and floor. Interesting thing to note about women's gymnastics. There's really sort of two events in women's gymnastics. There's tumbling. As you see her score, 6.7 start value. 15.8, much better execution than in yesterday's all-around competition. There's really only two events for women, tumbling and bars. Because if you can tumble, you can do vault and beam. That's right. So in men's gymnastics, in order to be a great all-around champion, there are really a variety of apparatus. But in women's gymnastics, it's not uncommon to see someone who's a good tumbler, who's also a good vaulter and on the beam, and then struggle on the uneven bars. So this will be interesting to see what happens with the Chinese athletes. Underscored all week long, in my opinion, and not appreciated for the high level of difficulty they do. Beautiful.
That was a much better Tkachev.
Yang Yiling, the 15-year-old. Oh, a little out of line.
But still manages to keep going.
She's the Chinese national champion, qualified fourth into this final.
So we got a lot of emails about the Chinese and their kips and the bent arms. And if you look closely, you start to notice it. Beautiful.
You know, as
Wow.
a gymnastics person, though, I don't really care about bent arm kicks. What I care about is what the other skills that I'm seeing. Gorgeous double layout.
Huge.
Love it. That's my contention about the rules, that the judging panel sitting there, they are so far removed from day-to-day gymnastics training that they see a bent arm on a kip and they take a deduction instead of looking at the overall mastery of the event and acknowledging the Chinese skill here and technique. This routine was wonderful.
I agree. When you're finishing Onos and 1.5 twisting pirouettes in an L grip inverted position, a kip is so insignificant.
Take a look right there. There is a little bent arm on that kip, and that is yes, it is a possible deduction, but in so many ways it takes away from acknowledging that the Chinese just own this event.
Right.
I'll go back to my contention about when they create the rules and the current scoring system, you need to have more current athletes and coaches in on that discussion because they know what good gymnastics is. I believe many of the judges are so far removed from day-to-day training that they can't really appreciate the difference between good gymnastics and great gymnastics, and we see that evidence here. Yes, there are slight bent arms on the kip, but as a gymnastics person, you and I know that that's a minor infraction considering the other incredibly difficult skills that they do with perfection.
Almost definitely.
7.0.
That's great.
16.15, and execution scores range from 8.9, which I cannot understand, up to about a 9.3. I didn't see all the numbers. Where do you find 7/10? Where do you find 1.1 deduction in that routine?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's just really frustrating because it's so difficult to perform an Ono or the pirouetting skills they do the way they do it.
Nastia Liukin now, the 17-year-old from Parker, Texas.
Beautiful.
Oh,
very
so
nice.
high.
She even has it laid out.
She won the World Championships in 2005, silver medal in 2006.
Very nice, Tkachev.
She finished 5th in the all-around here.
Beautiful.
Her score in the team finals is the highest score on bars so far at these World Championships. Nicely done.
Very good.
Well, you see a sense of relief on her face, in fact. It's been well documented that last year she had a severe ankle injury that has really hampered her progress all year long. She made a mistake on the balance beam in the all-around finals, and her quote the other day was, you know, I don't blame anybody but myself. Even my wife, Nadia Comaneci, mentioned, you know, she almost overreacted when she landed short of rotation and caused herself to fall off on the beam. But there's no question on the bars that she seemed very focused.
Chinesen bei den Männern sind, nämlich hier die Dauersieger mit dem Gold.
She has a wonderful Ginger. It's super high and lays it out, which is very nice.
Die Mannschaft holt Gold und Sean Johnson gestern den ersten Platz an den Weltmeistertitel im Mehrkampf. Alles sehr perfekt.
Beautiful pirouettes. Turns right on top. And again, because she's such a long gymnast, it just makes everything look that much better.
I want to thank Jeff Robinson from USA Gymnastics for sending us another email. This one, instead of being a book, was just a one-sentence comment. Well, I guess the B panel judges still have to get it right for the system to work. And he is exactly right about that. At this level, when most of the athletes are doing similar level of difficulty in these routines. A lot of additional pressure on the B panel judges to get the execution scores right. And on uneven bars, I have to say this has been mind-boggling because I don't think they're getting it right. And I've been seeing this consistently all week long. Alicia Sacramone, already a medalist here in individual event finals, to go with the American team gold medal. Nastia Liukin goes into first with a 7.1. Look at her difficulty. Her execution scores range from 8.8 to 9.5.
It's very interesting for two judges to be 7/10 off.
In terms of difficulty.
Right.
The high and low are thrown, in terms of execution. The high and low are thrown out. And the 4 scores in the middle are averaged to determine the execution score. Ksenia Semyonova, this could be a highlight. She has a routine that rivals the others in terms of difficulty. And she qualified first coming into this.
Beautiful Tkachev.
Oh, how nice. That's impossible.
To a giant full. Wow. Huge Jaeger.
The youngest member of the Russian team.
And Barstalder. Very nice.
Delchev. She scored a 16.325 in qualifying, so she has the ability to score even more than Liukin if she nails this routine. Well, her technique is good.
Wow.
Oh. Piked Arabian double front. That was just insane. That reverse hack to a giant full twist. How do you get the kind of swing out of a reverse hack to pull that off?
Well, first of all, she is little enough to be able to swing between the bars. So it's really virtually swinging like on a high bar.
That's right.
For her. But no, she definitely gets great amplitude on her releases.
Just 14 years of age. She'll turn 15 in October.
She's very aggressive on the kick, the tap of her skills.
Couple of minor form deductions, but in all, technically quite good. That leg separation is acceptable because in that move it's called a Delchev, which is a half turn to a front, differentiating it from a Ginger, which is a backflip with a half. She tucks down the dismount. And in that regard, she and Nastia Liukin are on a similar par because they both had a little form deduction in the air as well as a step on the landing. So it comes down to the other elements in the routine separating Liukin and Semyonova as to who ends up on top here. You see Nastia untaping that ankle that has plagued her for the last year, not allowing her to be at her best. She has had success on the bars, no question about it. Semyonova, just 14 years of age, from Tula, Russia.
Well, the trend in this finals today and throughout the meet seems to be difficulty over execution. Like if you have the difficulty, they'll try to be a little more lenient with you with your score.
But I'm not sure that's happening because if you have more skills, then you have more opportunities for deductions, which the B panel seems to be taking, but inconsistently, I should say.
I agree.
The point is that it needs to be consistent. I don't care what the rules are, whether 10-0 is perfect or 17.2 is perfect. The point is it needs to be consistent. And there is some concern when they created the new rules that they set it up so that there would be less cheating, but I'm not so sure that's worked. 7.2, her degree of difficulty, more than Liukin, which allows her to a 16.3. She will move into first place. Nastia Liukin in second place as we look at Germany's Marie-Sophie Hindermann.
Nice Pashnikova 2-pack. Short of handstand a bit. We'll get her there. Ooh, that pirouette went slightly over handstand. Uh-oh. Broke rhythm a little. Beautiful shoot over. Again, a little short of handstand.
Very nice form on the
Very
dismount.
nice.
And that's a tough landing. The 16-year-old from Tübingen, which is the hometown of the legendary Eberhard Ginger, former world champion and member of the International Gymnastics Hall of Fame, Tübingen, Germany, which is not far from Stuttgart here. 14th in the all-around final, and she qualified 7th into the uneven bars final. Had a 15.75 in qualifying.
Take a look at a replay of her routine. Great Jaeger. That was huge.
The German team placed 7th here. The top 12 teams in the world advance as complete teams to next year's Olympic Games in Beijing. Teams that placed lower than that will be able to send some individuals. A total of 98 men and 98 women will compete in artistic gymnastics in next year's Olympic Games in China. Two gymnasts to go. Beth Tweddle, the 21-year-old from England, lives in Liverpool, where she's coached by Amanda Harrison Kirby. Qualified 3rd into the final, but she is the reigning world champion. She has the type of routine that can win a medal here, perhaps even gold. Although Semyonova has set the bar very high today, as well as Liukin. Well, what a shock. We have a delay in the scoring as there seems to be a discussion about the discrepancy in these scores, which has been the theme all week long. As the judges figure it out, we'll step away for a minute and give them a chance to come up with the accurate score. Bart Connor and Tasha Schweikert back here for the final performances in the women's uneven bar final. Hopefully they have straightened things out and they have a score. Marie-Sophie Hinderman, 15.875, a 6.8 start score. As you see some of her German fans cheering her on. Beth Tweddle, 2003 World Championships, she got the bronze, and then 2005 she got the bronze, and in 2006 she won the gold. Let's see what she comes up with today. Qualified 3rd into this final.
Beautiful.
Big. Oh, I love that.
I love watching Beth. She's great.
Look at that toe point. Her
Very
3rd
nice.
big release.
Beautiful Shaposhnikova.
A couple of little leg separations here and there. They're minor.
Oh, see right there, lose her back slightly.
Right.
All right, pulls it out.
Amanda Harrison Kirby, her coach, 1984 British Olympian. We know her well. Beth Tweddle also qualified for the finals on floor exercise, and in the driver's seat right now is Ksenia Semyonova.
What I like about Beth is her precision and her skills. She really hits the handstands well, gets great height and amplitude, beautiful
She really
toe point.
changed her routine dramatically from a couple of years ago, where she did all those pirouetting skills, and they all finished past handstand, which she knows is a potential for deduction. So she opted to do more release moves, and in combination with excellent form, smart, talented young lady to be able to completely change your style on this event to maximize your score. She's the first British gymnast to win a world championship. She had shoulder surgery earlier this year, and yet looked to be in fine form tonight. What a shock, a scoring delay.
I like what you were saying about Beth and the change of her routines, because I can contest with Beth on only doing releases. The pirouettings are what causes discrepancies the scores.
Right.
They have to
handstands
complete within 10 degrees of handstand, or else one judge is going to count it, the other judge isn't going to count it, and that's where you run into problems. So, I mean, release is a release. If you're on, you're on. If you're off, obviously.
And the deductions in gymnastics are 1/10, 3/10, 5/10, and 8/10 of a point, depending on the size of the error or if there's a complete fall. In my era, you could deduct up to 2, up to 3 for certain deductions. And so when you're looking at a gymnast with a minor form deduction, is it 1/10 or 3/10? You have to decide. 16.125. She, with a 6.9 degree of difficulty, will end up in 4th place and out of the medals at this point, and one gymnast yet to go. So Semyonova, the leader. Liukin in second.
Sujong Hong up. Beautiful 1.5. Oh no, that's great. Lands in perfect handstand.
Second into the final.
Beautiful Tkachev.
Wow.
Wow. Great handstand. Wow.
Oh, we're going to be looking at a good score. She was great on the vault. Earned a medal. Boy, she does a lot of hard stuff. Good execution. The 22-year-old from Pyongyang.
The clarity of her skills is what I like best. I mean, she hits the handstands and hits it and holds. And you see it clear. Tkachev catches and really pushes out. Gets a good swing.
We mentioned that the Korean team very mysterious. We don't see them at many of the major world competitions. It could be funding, thanks to the good research and notes from Amanda Turner from International Gymnast Magazine. They don't show up at a lot of events, and in fact, this year they were fined by the International Gymnastics Federation for not paying their dues. So it could be the fact that we don't see them on the international scene as much, just because they can't afford to send their athletes all around the globe to compete in the major events.
That was a great Tkachev shoot over.
And a nice shoot half to the low bar and transition back up to the high bar. Good rhythm throughout.
Tja, und auch wenn jetzt schon feststeht, dass Marie-Sophie keine Medaille geholt hat, nicht nur ihre Finals.
I'm interested to see what kind of execution deductions they're going to give her.
Eine klasse Leistung, oder?
Good, then maybe you can explain. 6-6 jury A, 15-6-5, and her execution scores all pretty consistent at low 9s. So Ksenia Semyonova will get the gold. Congratulations to the 14-year-old from Russia. They have had a disappointing World Championships, but a gold medal makes things feel a little bit better. Nastya Liukin, who congratulates her, will finish 5/100ths of a point behind, and Yang Yiling 15/100 points behind. Liukin will be third. By 25/1000ths of a point, the reigning world champion, Beth Tweddle, will finish out of the medals totally. Well, that does it for the women's uneven bar finals. When we come back, we will switch back over to the men as they will be getting set to perform on the rings. Here are the top 8 strongmen in the world currently who will contend for medals in the steel rings final. This is going to be a treat as the beef, the biceps, and the deltoids will be displayed. Just as we said, you can recognize a pommel horse specialist. You can also kind of recognize a ring guy.
Look at these guys. If there was ever a world's strongest man competition in gymnastics, it's the rings master.
They might not be able to pick up a Toyota, but in terms of strength to weight ratio, right, pound for pound, you're looking at some of the strongest athletes in the world, including Jordan Yovchev at 34 years of age.
Incredible.
Kevin Tan from the United States. A good opportunity here because he has an incredibly difficult routine. Good opportunity for the Americans. Yang Wei, the world champion, and Chen Yibing, the reigning world champion on this event. This is going to be...
I'm predicting a pretty close one here.
Oh, yeah. It's going to come down to minor details.
Unlike pommel horse, rings is a more relatively easy event to hit, so it's going to come down to the gymnast that hits their routine the best. Looking forward to this part.
Me too, Raj. I wish you were out there with those guys.
I wish I was there. I wish I was there.
Here we go, Raj. Alexander Safoshkin, the 31-year-old from Rostov-on-Don in Russia, now lives in Moscow. Qualified 6th. We mentioned this in the team competition. He's a great specialist on their team. Does vault, rings, and parallel bars typically. Quit gymnastics, went into the circus for 7 years, and then returned to become a specialist on the rings. Last year he was 6th in the World Championships.
It's rare to see a gymnast to leave the professional arena and go on to the performing arts and then return and be a player on rings.
Of course, it's likely that what he did in the circus was do the rings, right, so it wasn't like he stepped out completely from it.
That first sequence there was extremely difficult. That was a Zarian to Maltese and then press to invert, so he'll be awarded maximum connection bonus on that.
He had a 16.475. Oh, positions are good.
Positions are really nice.
It's really going to be very minor details separating the medalists here.
Details just like that. He didn't hold that flange element quite long enough, kind of wobbled in it. And it's kind of unfortunate that he is the first guy up because he has a very good ring routine. And for those of you who don't know, it's a random draw. So one of the best guys might happen to go first. And usually the first routine is a base routine for a lot of the judges.
I have another suggestion for the rules. If there are 8 guys in the final, the top 4 qualifiers should be among the last 4 to go.
I agree.
And then the qualifiers 5th through 8th should have to go in the first 4, so that it's not a complete random draw, but there is some seeding, which gives you essentially you learn to seed because of your qualifying score. In this case, it is often determined medalists. And how many times have you been in a major competition and you qualify for the final and you realize, oh my God, I go first.
I go first, yeah.
You just feel like it's done.
It is. It's hard, especially when you're a strong medal contender like Safoshkin. It's interesting to note about that seeding. You see it in other sports. You don't see it in gymnastics too much outside of the team competition.
Right, the team competition, they do seed and they give the best teams the best rotation. I think in the event finals they should consider a top half and a bottom half.
I agree. For
the finalists. In a way, giving you a reward for having qualified so well. Instead, everybody starts at 0 and you're on your own. Hey, guess what? A scoring discrepancy.
Wonder who he's calling.
They're ordering out for pizza.
Yeah, that might be it.
Good opportunity to remind people how you do qualify to the Olympics. The 12 best teams go as complete teams. The teams, 2 best gymnasts for each of the gymnastics teams that place 13th, 14th, and 15th in the world will go. So 2 will get to go. From teams that place 16th, 17th, or 18th in the world, just 1 gets to go. And then 1 gymnast, the best ranked at competition 1, the qualifying, all around. The 6 gold medalists from this competition automatically get invited to the Olympics next year. So one way, if you're not on the best team, to guarantee your spot in the Olympics is to win here. And then 3 gymnasts designated by the International Gymnastics Federation's Executive Committee that give precedence to basically geography. If you happen to come from South Africa and they want to encourage gymnastics programs in South Africa, they can give you a wild card slot into the Olympics based on geographical diversity. And then 1 final slot allocated by the International Olympic Committee. If that person hasn't made the Olympics based on all those other parameters, then the International Olympic Committee has the ability to suggest to International Gymnastics Federation 1 athlete who they would like to see in the Olympics based on their own set of preferences. So
it'd be interesting to see who's filled those cards. And here we have the score for Alexander Safoshkin.
6.9, his degree of difficulty, 16.075.
Most of the guys here in rings will start in the high 16s. Some, actually the best, will start above 17.
And the medalists are all in that sort of 7.1 to 7.4.
That's right.
Start value score.
Rings is actually where you see the highest starts in the entire competition.
Regulu Carmona now, the 26-year-old from Caracas.
Nice. Azarian Maltese. Push to invert. That will be an F plus an E. That's hard.
First appearance for any Venezuelan in a world event finals, so historic moment for Venezuelan's program.
And he definitely looks like he belongs. His positions are very, very nice.
Pan American Games champion.
All right, not a bad routine. Sure, he's going to be happy with that one.
Yeah, probably take a little bit more than that to be a medalist.
Yeah. And this event, a little bit more than some of the others, the judges know who the players are coming in. As much as I hate to say it, a little bit of what you've done in the past plays into this event. Nice Maltese
There's no
position.
denying his positions were very accurate, and
then push out from that such level Maltese is incredibly hard.
Without raising the shoulders up. That's how you get that connection bonus, a skill that goes from a lower position to a higher position. In an ascending phase, you have the chance to get connection bonus. So very nicely done.
That dismount could have been done a little bit better. The judges are definitely going to take note of that pike down. They want to see the gymnast flare open their dismount and prepare for the landing rather than sort of twisting right into the ground.
7.0 his degree of difficulty. A wide range in his execution scores from 8.8 to 9.4, 16.175.
And that's a good score for
a
first-time finalist on rings here. And this man, this guy is strong. He's actually a good friend of mine. Spent some time in Houston with him. He's a really nice guy.
World champion in 2005 and the bronze medal in 2006. Coming into today's final, tied with Chen Yibing in qualifying. This is a true specialist. This is all he does is rings.
He is absolutely magnificent in his positions.
This is the kind of guy who walks into the gym and you go, oh yeah, you're a ring guy, right?
Yeah.
You'd never mistake him for a pommel horse guy.
His positions are so crisp. He hits them right away. little bit of leg separation on those Yamawakis, maybe 1/10thers. Invert position, shoulders are well in the rings. It's very nice.
Somewhat of a reminder of Yuri Keki.
Yeah.
The great Lord of the Rings from... Oh, nice. He piped it down a little bit, but he did stick it.
Squeaked it around.
Yuri Keki, of course, was a terrific all-arounder, then just became a specialist on the rings and won the World Championship many times and the Olympics. And these guys last a long time. I mean, Yuri's 27. Jordan Yovchev from Bulgaria is in the final. He's 34. How can they last so long?
You know, for some of these gymnasts, it's contradictory to some of the other events. The older you get, maybe sometimes the stronger you get.
Good point. And many of them are professionals. They travel around the world competing in the World Cup circuit.
Just doing rings or one or two events.
And they compete as long as they can. And
see the minor leg separations going into those Yamawaki skills.
He really doesn't quite have a big swing movement.
No.
He really gets most of his difficulty on the brute
strictly from strength. Well, one thing I do like about the new code change, especially on rings, is it requires the gymnasts who aren't as physically strong as someone like a Van Gelder to get some of their bonus from swinging type elements. And even Yuri does a swinging element, and that's a high start. That's very
7-3, 16-6-2-5. He'll move into the lead. A little extra pressure on him because his team did not qualify. He's one of those guys, the only way he gets to the Olympics is if he wins today. Or he gets a wild card from the International Gymnastics Federation, because he's one of those guys that is a great individual specialist, but he's not on a great team. So he doesn't have a free ticket to the Olympics yet, and he's one of the best in the world.
Hey, he is one of the best, and it's not going to be easy for him because later in the rotation here, we're going to see China's best, who's going to give Van Gelder a run for his money. And here we have the superhero from Japan, Tomita.
Fourth in the Olympics on this event.
Many-time ring finalist. That skill there is called a Hanma to Maltese. Actually rated at an F, surprisingly. Shoot invert, very level position. It's a pike Yamawaki.
Oh.
It might have been a 3/10 hop. I couldn't tell from the angle, but
it looked like a pretty substantial hop.
Rings is one of those events where the judges are really looking for that stick.
Because really there are very few ways of differentiating between a good gymnast and a great gymnast on the rings.
Right.
You look at shoulder angles on the strength moves and the landing. That's really about it.
That's right.
One of my contentions with the new rules is that perhaps the system is good, but it's not really the system that matters. It's making sure that the judges apply the system to ranking the gymnast properly. And I'm not so sure that that is actually happening, whether under the old code or the new code. It still comes down to whether the judges apply the code.
That's right. I still don't think they've mastered that aspect perfectly.
6'9", his start value, 15.925. He'll be in fourth. And more muscle men yet to come. Van Gelder, the leader.
And then how about this guy?
How many gray-haired gymnasts do you see in the competition? I mean, that's Jordan Yovchev. I know a good friend of yours is a good friend of mine as well.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, I'm supposed to be impartial, but boy, I hope he does well.
Yes,
I love this guy. He and his wife, Bobby, and their little son, Jordan. They live in Houston, not far from you, and he is a delightful gentleman.
He is.
Third in qualifying. This is his 9th appearance in the World Championships finals of the rings.
There was a Hanma element, and look at that invert.
Nice.
Head is actually below the rings.
Silver medalist at the Olympics in Athens. Many people felt he should have won the gold, but Tambakos, the Greek, won in Greece. Go figure.
Way out Yamawaki to pike Yamawaki.
Nice position. A little bit of a swing.
Right. You know, it is a little bit more difficult on these leather straps.
Nice landing.
Sticks it.
Well done, Jordan. It's been in the ring finals at the World Championships going back to 1994 in Brisbane, Australia. That's nuts. 13 years.
But the only nickname that comes to mind is Gymnastics Soldier.
He is. I love how he works out now at 34 years of age. He works out in like 45 minutes, in and out, goes plays with his baby.
It's funny. Watch him come into the gym. Jordan, 1 on 6 today. All right, you know, just turn your head 10 minutes later, he's on the first event doing his hardest skills.
Beautiful combination there, and that's the kind of body position, the level inverted iron cross that you're looking for. He had a 16.575 in qualifying. Lives in Houston, still spends a lot of time in his native Bulgaria. Travels the world doing gymnastics exhibitions and shows. He's enormously popular. 16.575. He'll move into second place, a 7.4 start value. And a wide variety there, within a few tenths of a point of B scores.
I got to commend him, though, at 34 years old, to have a 7.4 start value.
Yeah, that's just...
It's
should go into record books. Yeah. It's just incredible. Kevin Tan now. Great opportunity for the Americans here who have done extremely well, yet finished out of the medals at these World Championships in every contest so far.
He is clearly the best U.S. gymnast on this event right now.
U.S. national champion. 2 years in a row.
Held cross, press to invert. Again, he's one of those gymnasts that gains most of his start value through strength elements. Positions today are good, but just missing a little bit of that crispness.
And when you get to the finals, when you're really looking at the minor details, I mean, that is a great routine.
It's a great routine.
But you're right, it wasn't quite as sharp as some of the other performances.
When you compare that routine to the best, which you see it all within a close time frame, you get a good look at the difference between very crisp positions and a slightly rushed, heavy routine.
Kevin Tan's 25 years of age, turns 26 later this month, from Fremont, California. Compete at State College, Pennsylvania, where Randy Jepson is his coach there. Good point. Here's a type of skill where you don't want to raise too much out of the cross into the Maltese.
That's right. And then even there, when you hit the Maltese, the judges don't really want to see any fluctuation in body movement.
7.3 start value and a range from 8.9 to 9.4 in terms of his B scores. Of course, the high and low B scores are thrown out. The rest are average.
He's in third right now. We have two really high start values coming up here, both from China.
Look out.
And they really dominate the rings right now.
Yang Wei, the world all-around champion, and then we'll be finishing up this competition with Chen Yibing, the world rings champion.
And you'll see some diversity here. Here's a gymnast that will include a lot of strength elements, but will also use swing elements to increase his difficulty. And he has nice positions. He's well improved on this event. Ooh. That's the Hanma Maltese. And pushes to planche, and see a little bit of wavering in the body there.
Do you think that Superman is finally getting tired?
Could be. And there's a swing element you may not see from some of the other gymnasts, called a gozogi.
And in the laid out position, O'Neill from the United States made that popular. Very nice.
And here's a big dismount coming up. Lay out double-double.
Oh!
Almost sticks it.
You have to admire him for going for the double twister.
Absolutely. I respect him from someone that does that at the end of the routine.
Is that because you do it too?
Yeah.
Love you, man. I like your chances in this ring final. Raj, what do you think?
Yeah, just got to heal up this elbow.
What's your highest start value you've ever performed?
In the gym?
No, in a meet when it counts.
In a meet when it counts. I'd say it's right now right around 6'6" to 6'7".
And in the gym?
I've done a 6'8" sequence.
In your dreams?
8.5.
All right. Well, you can see here with the top 8 in the world what it takes. Rings is one of those events that the finals, they're all just unbelievable. So it's going to come down to a little hop on the landing.
That's right.
A minor deduction. Just such admiration for the guy who has the guts to crank a double twisting double layout when you're tired.
Absolutely.
Few gymnasts will take that risk.
Earns my respect.
Yang Wei. He will be the Yuri van Gelder, still sitting in the top position with a 16.625.
And he can't celebrate quite yet, and he knows it because of this next gentleman.
That's right. Jordan Yovchev currently sitting in second. This enormous amount of tension as they're waiting on these scores. And Yuri van Gelder, an added dimension, obviously. If he wins the Worlds, he gets a green light, a free ticket to Beijing, China. If he does not, then he'll have to wait and see if he gets selected from the International Gymnastics Federation.
And what a position to be in. You just finished your routine. It was a great routine. And now your Olympic fate comes down to basically one routine here. And a selection committee.
And he's from Netherlands, which doesn't help him in terms of getting invited based on geographical diversity. If he were from Tunisia, I like his chances. So I think the discussion here would likely be about some of those positions and
what to do with especially one of those elements in there, kind of look halfway between a Maltese and a planche.
Right.
Judges could go either way, and that would affect the A panel score as well as the B panel.
We've mentioned this earlier that you can't challenge the judges on the A panel, but you can challenge them.
And look at that. That routine is supposed to start higher than a 7.0, so he did not get credit for one of the elements.
Yuri van Gelder sitting on the top spot right now. He won in 2005.
But it's going to be interesting to see here. Van Gelder's routine was jam-packed with difficulty, as was this one, so it's probably going to come down to B panel.
The score to beat, Van Gelder's 16.625. Chen Yibing has done that before.
Probably going to come down to like a 10th.
Yeah, or maybe less. But there is no denying the positions in this routine were precise. The look of his body line and the rhythm of the exercise is a notch better than Van Gelder's.
The whole routine from start to finish is like a picture. And the judges really see that.
Whenever you swing to a strength move and completely freeze it, that is the ideal. And boy, very minor swing in the rings. And then
right here,
flaring this
flaring
out.
that dismount.
That might be the difference right there.
Absolutely.
Und alle, die jetzt vom Turnen so begeistert sind, dass sie baldmöglichst wieder einen Besuch hier einplanen wollen, sei gesagt, für den bevorstehenden DTB-Pokal in 7 Wochen in der Porsche Arena gibt es Karten und heute...
Grew up in Tianjin, which was the host city of the World Championships. 1999, lives in Beijing now. He tied Von Gelder coming into the qualifying. We will see. Only 3 other Chinese men have won world medals. Dong Zheng in 99 back in Tianjin. Li Ning and Huang Yubin, who is now the head coach of the Chinese team, back in 1981. I remember Huang Yubin quite well.
So waiting to score. That routine was pretty much the best he could do that.
He scored a 16.6 in qualifying and then a 16.45 in team final. Score to beat 16.625. It is likely that Kevin Tan, currently sitting in 3rd place, Yuri Von Gelder will get 2nd. Jordan Yovchev at 34, another medal.
Another medal.
On the rings.
And I really hope he gets to fulfill his Olympic dream, Yuri Van Gelder.
Yeah, now his fate, because he did not win, will rest in the hands of the International Gymnastics Federation or the IOC. There are the final results for the American men. One more finish, impressively, but yet just off the podium. Well, that concludes the competition here in Stuttgart, the 2007 World Gymnastics Championships. We will now proceed with award ceremonies for the men's pommel horse, and then the women's uneven bars, and then finish up with the men's still rings.
MBW World Artistic Gymnastics Championships 2007 Stuttgart. Pommel horse.
While we acknowledge the champions of the pommel horse, let's kind of set up what we're going to see tomorrow. We'll see the men's event finals on the vault, parallel bars, and high bar. Unfortunately for the American men, no American male qualified in any of those 3 events, so their world championships are finished.
2nd place.
Aus Ungarn, from Hungary, Christian Berki. Und Weltmeister.
World Champion.
Mit 16,30 Punkten, 16 points, 300. From China, aus China, Xiao Xin.
Lewis Smith of Great Britain, as you mentioned, he missed a pommel, but it doesn't really hurt him in terms of difficulty. There would be a deduction for...
Had it been a large error, large-looking error, judges would have taken that, but he kept the swing going relatively cleanly, and because it's just a circle, it didn't hurt his A panel or B panel too much. But nonetheless, it's clearly not what he intended to do.
Right. But Lewis Smith gets a bronze medal for Great Britain on the pommel horse. They had 2 finalists, he and Daniel Keating's only 17, Lewis Smith 18, so terrific result for the British men on the pommel horse.
For the 3rd place, Mr.
Christian Berki from Hungary continues their long-standing tradition of having fantastic pommel horse workers. He earns the silver. But there was no question about this result. Xiao Qin just...
Clearly the technical master on this event, and has been for a long time.
And he hit. We have seen him fall. And of course, many people remember some epic battles between him and Marius Urzica of Romania, who was, until Xiao Qin, he was Superman of pommel horse. But
please raise
now,
for the national anthem
Xiao Qin
from China.
Comfortably in charge.
Get another look at the flare sequence in his routine, and look at the extension between his legs, the 180-degree separation.
As we get set now for the final acknowledgement of the women uneven bar champions.
Gymnastics Championships 2007 Stuttgart. Uneven bar.
Nastia Liukin, about a head taller than her two competitors.
Third place.
Mit 16,150, 16.150. Aus China, from China, Yang Yilin.
Yang Yilin. They qualified in fourth into the bar finals. Secures a bronze medal for China there. China has won 7 medals in total so far at these World Championships. 5 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. Nastia Liukin from the United States, the silver medal.
Mit 16,350, 16.350. From Russia, aus Russland, Ksenia Semenova.
And what a treat here. Just 14 years of age, after that devastating disappointment for the Russian team in the team final, where they had a score of 0 on the vault, placed 8th in the team final. There is a bright spot for the Russian team here, and she is just 14. Ksenia Semyonova wins the gold medal on the bars.
For the second place, Mrs. Donatella.
Incredible combination. Reverse hack and do a giant with a full turn out of it. That just blew my mind. Of course, if you're 4 feet 4 inches tall, it's probably a little easier to do than if you're of normal height. Good for her.
Advisory member of the organizing committee for the
Still amazing to see the age difference between the women's side and the men's side.
The average age for the men at this competition, 23.17 years of age. The average age for the women, 17.68. So just less than 6 years difference in the average age of the men and the women at the World Championship level. A lot of the gymnasts, both men and women, are competing longer than they used to because they can actually make a living in gymnastics.
That's right.
And people like Jordan Yovchev and even Oksana Chusovitsina at 32 years of age now, they're considered professional gymnasts. They travel the world doing exhibitions, and they make prize money at competitions. And there is some prize money, not a great deal, awarded at these World Championships for the medalists. On top of that, many of them come from countries where their government gives them a substantial award for winning world and Olympic championships.
That's right. Something I wish we had in the United States.
It was noted at the 2004 Olympics that Russian Olympic champions would earn about $60,000 US per gold medal that they won. So several of these young men and women not only brought glory to their country, but they did all right financially. It's a pretty good week.
That's right. I mean, as much as we hate to say it, you know, it's nice to have that financial piece, that incentive there. Actually pushes the level of gymnastics sometimes to an upper echelon.
Look at Yuri von Gelder.
I know.
Look at the arms on that man.
Think he swings a good circle on pommel horse?
Unlikely.
Maybe to explain why that is to some of our viewers, actually, biomechanically, the more muscle you have, it becomes more difficult to actually reach your hands behind your back and have that necessary shoulder extension on pommel horse.
was never a problem for me. I never had biceps that got in the way. It is a little bit for you.
A little bit. Not as much as this guy.
Yeah, he's got a couple of canned hams hanging on his shoulders there.
World champion.
So he gets the silver medal, and his fate in the Olympics next year will remain to be seen, depending on whether he gets an exemption to go to the Olympics. He needed to win the gold medal to guarantee a spot. Chen Yibing already going to the Olympics because China won the team championship. But since the Netherlands was not here as a top 12 team, a little added dimension for Yuri Van
Für den
Gelder.
ersten Platz Juri Titov, Ehrenpräsident des Internationalen Turnerbundes FIG.
For the first place, Mr. Yuri Titov, honor president of the FIG.
Kind of nice that former president of the International Gymnastics Federation from Russia, Yuri Titov, presenting these awards.
For the second place, Mr. Robert Colarossi, member of the Executive Committee and the Media Commission FIG.
Und für den dritten Platz durch Elvira Mensah-Hasis,
We'll set up tomorrow's competition. We'll see competition for the men in the vault parallel bars in high bar. For the American men, this world championship is over. A very impressive and encouraging performance for the U.S. team.
Say over, but a success,
Yeah,
nonetheless.
very much so. I think we're very impressed with what we saw, the potential of the U.S. men.
Absolutely.
It was a tease in some respects because they ended up out of the medals and, in fact, fourth in the team, fourth in the all-around, fourth on floor exercise, sixth on pommel horse, and fourth on race.
Wow.
But all in all, I think a very encouraging sign for the capabilities of the U.S. men heading into next year.
Very much so.
Get used to this national anthem.
Yeah, we're going to hear it a lot.
Hear it a lot. Not only in gymnastics, but in Beijing, we'll hear it probably played in a lot of other sports.
Several other sports. They've stated several
bands
times
are good.
that they're coming after the U.S. as far as the total medal count.
I still have a pet peeve about why don't you play the whole national anthem?
Yeah.
Play it through. I mean, it
Out
just
of
takes
respect.
about another
Right.
minute. All right, now that wraps it up for the men's competition here as well as the women's. Tomorrow, looking forward to the women. We will see on the balance beam the best in the world as well as the floor for the United States. Shawn Johnson, the new world all-around champion, will be on both the beam and the floor. Can she continue her fortunate streak here in Stuttgart? Nastia Liukin, who was a medalist on the uneven bars today, will be up on the balance beam. In fact, she's the last one to go. A little advantage for her to have another shot at a world title on the beam. And then also fortunate for the Americans on the floor that Shawn Johnson will be going second, but Alicia Sacramone will be the last to go.
Good draws for the U.S. I think a lot of these gymnasts know how important these rankings are going into next year's Olympic Games. You want to position yourself in the judge's mind as a player.
Any subjectively judged sport, obviously, when you see an athlete step up who's a reigning world champion, I just can't help but believe you get the benefit of the doubt.
You do.
Is it a deduction or not?
Right.
That's just what happens.
Kind of wish it wasn't there, you know.
I don't
Unlike
think
some
there's any way of solving
there
it.
really isn't.
It's funny, we invited our viewers today to send us the good notes about the code of points, and we got very few emails. Our viewers,
What does that say?
It's much more fun to complain.
Yeah, of course.
So tomorrow, please pour in all your letters and emails, and let's get complaining again
Let's do
about the
it.
code of points.
Let's
That's
do
a
it.
lot more fun
It
and
is
a lot
fun.
more stimulating in terms of conversation.
Let us know what you think.
Raj, it was a pleasure working with you again
Always
today,
a
my
pleasure,
friend.
Bart. Always.
Tasha Schweikert, she's no longer in the booth with us, but we want to thank her for her good work, and we will be back tomorrow for day 5 of groundbreaking coverage. The only place that you can see live World Gymnastics Championship coverage in its entirety is on WCSN, World Championship Sports Network, home of world champions. I'm Bart Connor. We'll see you tomorrow.